What's up, guys? Coach Vassar, thank you for joining me with OTF Audio Daily Beats. As always, if you're new to these, I appreciate you coming in and listening to me ramble about these workouts. If you find value in them, please let me know. Shoot me a message. Information is in the description to support me. Other than that, any feedback, give me that heads up. Let me know how I can make this experience better for you. Breaking down the month of March, I will mention that my little guy is supposed to be taking a nap, but I have the baby monitor next to me, so if you hear some random screams and cries, that's probably why. We're going to break down March 1st, which will also repeat on Tuesday, March 18th. Okay. As always, we'll go over like the key concepts of the treads, rower, weight floor, talk about the 3G as well. This is going to be endurance on the treads, endurance on the rower, and strength on the weight floor today. Briefly looking at it, I will mention that this seems very familiar, and I feel like we might have actually done this exact template at some point. Of course, coaching for this long, it all kind of blends together, but I guarantee you that there will probably be a member on Reddit who has special talents of recognizing patterns and being, yeah, we did this on such and such date. So if that comes out, it's cool. But like I said, it looks familiar. Just giving you that heads up. Anyways, enough rambling, let's kind of break down into it. So treads today, we have a distance challenge across 3 blocks. Can you match or beat your distance in each block? On the rower, every time you row, it's a 400-meter push. Can you hit the orange zone by the end of that 400 meters? And then on the floor, it's all about tempo couplets. Okay, one exercise done at 2 different speeds. Start with a standard tempo and then slow down halfway through your reps. So we look at the tread side, 7-minute block. Block 1 and block 2 are inverses of each other. And then block 3 is a member choose your own adventure style. At the start of each block, you will clear out your screen. Blocks 1 and 2, they're gonna alternate between a push and a base. There's no clear directive as far as what members should do, but the main thing is to accumulate as much distance as possible. They're gonna start this with a 30-second push, 1-minute base, and then they're gonna have that for a total of 3 rounds. The push does increase in duration, and it'll double from the previous one. So you have 30, 1 minute, and then 2 minutes. After that third round of the 2-minute push, 1-minute base, you finish with a 30-second all out, okay? For all intents and purposes, with block 1 being the first, kind of setup, I personally would have people be conservative on their push and try to maintain that as long as possible, especially knowing that it will double every time, okay? So they recommend power walkers 8% or greater for that first push. Joggers, runners, I'd probably keep them about 1 over that base speed because, halfway through, that push is now 2 minutes, and that's gonna be pretty rough. When you look at the complete, overview of it, there's only 3 minutes of active recovery and there's 4 minutes between the push and that final all out. So in terms of recovery and work, obviously it skews more towards that work side, so be conservative, but also that way in block 2 they have the opportunity to use that conservative speed to begin with, and then every round could they bump up. So when we look at block 2, 2-minute push, 1-minute base, and then 1 minute, 1 minute, 30 push, 1-minute base, 30-second all out. So if they started conservative in block 1, can they start with that and then add on their pushes, which will guarantee them to beat the previous block. Now, the third block is a choose their own adventure. They have 7 minutes to tread for distance. How they do it, it is completely up to them. Choose your own intensity, match or beat best distance between blocks 1 from blocks 1 and 2. So if they did better on block 2, they're trying to beat block 2. If they did better in block 1, can they beat block 1? Okay. But if you kind of coach them right, hopefully they do better in block 2, and which is what they're going to try to improve on. They got 6.5 minutes. They choose their intensity, and then they finish with a 30-second all out. As always, for these tread intensity situations, they could hold one speed all the way through until the all out. They could start conservative, work their way up, or they could, repeat the intervals, whether that's the exact times or they could do like a 1-to-1. It's kind of up to them, okay? And that's the tread side. Key thing is there is only 75 seconds to recover between each block, okay? And of course that will put them right about 23.5 minutes total time on the treads. Now on the weight floor, we're gonna only see 2 blocks. Block 1 includes the rower. Block 2 is just the weight floor. So after block 1, they can wipe down the rower and head over there. It is 2 movements, focusing on tempo, and then a core movement, and then a 400-meter push row. In total, they're gonna do 10 reps of a rear foot elevated split squat. They're gonna do 10 reps on the left, 10 reps on the right. Now the weight's broken up, as mentioned in the key concepts. The first 5 is a standard tempo, 2 counts down, 2 counts up. Then they're gonna go for a slow 3 count down, pause, 1 count up for the next 5. We want them to use the same weight. So in all honesty, the first round, have them use a more light to moderate weight. When they eventually come back, maybe try a more moderate weight choice. Going heavy might not be the best decision simply because they might feel good with the first 5 with that heavy, but when they start going for that tempo, it's really gonna suck in a good way, but also in a bad way. So we don't want people to be completely demolished, but they wanna feel successful, that they maintain good form. So personally, I would have them no more than a moderate weight choice. They'll do the left, they do the right, they rest. And then the next one is a seated shoulder press. Same thing though, 2 counts up, 2 counts down, then 1 count up, 1, 2, 3 counts down, okay? They'll rest, and then they have the bench straight leg raise for 10 reps. My way of setting up that movement, I like to have people start obviously laying on their back on the bench with their feet elevated. That way it helps glue the lower back down. Draw the belly button down, back is flat against the bench. Me personally, I find I get better core activation if I also do a slight crunch up. So my shoulder blades do come off the bench a little bit. For some people that might be kind of discomforting on the neck, so they can keep their head down, but really try to, pull the navel down into the spine, really work on pulling those abs in, bracing through the core, whatever cue will resonate with your members the best. But once their legs are up, they should feel that ab activation, and then work on lowering the legs as much as they can before their back pops up off the bench. Usually that's an indication of, their hip flexors are taking over because they're overactive, and that's gonna cause the pelvic bone to rotate. So if they notice their back popping up, elevate the feet a little bit, and that's as low as they really should go, and then bring it back up. Either way, they should feel lower abs, not the back when they do that. Once they finish 10 reps there, 400-meter push row. And as mentioned in the key concepts, we want them to try to find that orange during near the end of it. So probably during that last 50 meters, last 100 meters, high green, tapping into that orange. But they finish the row, they should be able to go right back to the weight floor. They should not gas out. So I would have them, keep that stroke rate pretty consistently around 26 to 28, somewhere about 6 to 7 on the leg drive. Emphasize powerful drive back, slow and controlled patience on that way forward, all the standard regular stuff. 15 minutes and 15 seconds for this block. They should definitely get through at least 2 rounds, maybe a 3rd round of the weight floor, but they might not get to a 3rd attempt on the row, okay? Block 2 is gonna be set up the same way, but now there's gonna be a core exercise between the 2 tempo movements. So we'll see dumbbell bridge. This is gonna be from the floor, 5 regular rep counts, and then 5 with a slow tempo. So come up, 1 count, and then 1, 2, 3 on the way down. Obviously from the floor, this is really gonna reduce range of motion. So they could go super heavy with this, but also if they want a challenge, they could do it with shoulders on the bench, which will elevate their body, but also increase range of motion, add in another layer of difficulty to it. When they finish that, they have low plank alternating toe taps for a total of 10. Then they move to the next tempo couplet, which is gonna be reverse flies. Same thing, they'll do 5 regular tempo and then 5 very slow, really targeting the rear delts. This is one where 8 pounds might feel really freaking heavy. So if you notice people are throwing the weights up and they're dropping the body down, that's probably an indication of, hey, that's too heavy. They could also go into a high row instead. Hash brown, shut up. My dog's an idiot, sorry. And they're just gonna repeat those 2 tempo couplets and that plank tap in between. The finisher is either of those core movements for the 2G. There you go. Now looking at the 3G, 2 blocks on the treads, and then 1 long block on the rower, 1 long block on the weight floor. When we look at the treads, 6 minutes and 30 seconds. And it's going to be very similar to the first block of the 2G, except for the final push is only 90 seconds instead of 2 minutes. So they'll go from 30 to 1 minute to 90 seconds with a 1 minute base in between, and then a 30-second all out. Okay, so total time is 6.5 minutes. They'll have a full 90-second recovery, and then they will tread for distance to try to match or beat block 1. Same rule applies. They could hit and hold, they could build their way up, or they could repeat those intervals because it'll essentially allow them to match their distance. Okay, they could also try to add 0.1 to their push if they're repeating it, so on and so forth. Rower is going to be 2 different parts. The first part is a 400-meter push row followed by a squat hold bicep curl. You're going to do 400, 300, 200 meters. Then they're done. Then they move to part 2. And now they're going to increase their distance, 200, 300, back to 400, but that's going to be paired up with reverse lunge hold to the angle press. And so for that one, after 3 rounds, they will row until the finisher, and then that's going to be a 30-second all-out row. On the weight floor, nice and simple here, they're going to do all those tempo couplets, so split squat, seated shoulder press, bridge from the floor, do it from the bench if they want that challenge, reverse fly, and then they finish with the low plank alternate and toe tap. That is also the finisher for the 3G. Now, I am a little curious about the row movement, so let me pull up exercise library and see what that is supposed to be, because obviously they always word these things kind of funky. So the alternate and reverse lunge hold to the angled press. Video has med ball here, they'll step back, they press, then they step up. Then they'll step back with the other leg. While they're in that split stance position, lower down, that's when they press. So the hold is the bottom position of the lunge. When they perform the press, when they bring the med ball back to the chest, that's when they stand up. There you go. All right, other than that, that's Saturday, March 1st. Once again, repeats Tuesday, March 18th. Got some endurance on the treads, endurance on the rower, strength on the weight floor. As always, any feedback, let me know. Any support, love it, appreciate it. Thank you as always, guys. Other than that, you guys got this. Coach it down.